Welcome back to my channel. I'm Artifacts, and in this video, I'll show you how to transfer base parts to our Corvette. We'll use two types of glitches. The transfer glitch, which consists of transferring previously built Corvette parts outside the space station, and the forced transfer glitch, which is used to transfer base parts to the Corvette. I want to make a preliminary remark. The forced transfer glitch could be risky. In the large No Man's Sky community, there have been people who have talked about the possibility of losing the save file after performing the forced transfer glitch. That said, let's start with the video. Once you are in your settlement, place a base computer at a minimum distance of 300 U. Then build anything from the base computer to your settlement, such as a teleport. Once your Corvette is in the base, you can freely switch between construction modes by pressing the pause button. Select base mode and use the build camera. At this point, select the floor and position it to remove the lawn so that you have greater visibility. I highly recommend using this type of floor with this design, as it will help you to be much more precise thanks to the reference points. The position you need to achieve is this: 2 rows of bricks starting from the center line of the floor. The more precise this operation is, the more precise the floor we need on the Corvette will be, which is the most important thing. As we can see, the floor is practically in the center of the hub and perfectly aligned thanks to the flat terrain of the settlement, two things of extreme importance if we want to build based on both precision and the center of a hub. Now, let's work on the newly positioned floor. Let's put the gate, which is the fundamental part, without which we couldn't start building, and position it on the side closest to the center of the Corvette. Here is an example of what I mean. If we positioned it on the opposite side, the farthest one. In the space station, it would not be possible to build on that hub because the game reads it as if it were positioned backwards, showing it to us in red instead of green. Okay, let's start the process of placing the hubs. Take the floor and do the reverse wire glitch by pressing the toggle to the wire button and the build button at the same time and attach the wire to the gate snap. Now let's reposition the floor, place one next to it, and do the reverse wire glitch again, attaching the cable to the central snap of the floor so that we maintain a snap after we remove the gate. Let's put in a new cable and update the previous one to save the position we'll use for the hub we want to place. The cables are connected, so they need to be updated. To ensure that you have positioned the cable in the correct direction, check the lightning symbol. The largest part of the lightning symbol is where the base of the hub will be positioned. These are examples of the various positions. Take the hub, toggle to the wire, and place it on one of the 2 snaps using the universal adjacency glitch by pressing toggle to the wire and the build button. The hub is now positioned along the axis of the 2 cables, which is why I said they are connected. Now, let's put the hub in more ambitious positions. Create a connection between a horizontal cable and a vertical one. Remove one of the two cables and update the remaining two. We can also place it in an oblique position, giving the Corvette a much more distinctive shape. The beauty of this cable method is that we can position them however we want using our imagination, thus creating Corvettes that are unique in their kind. Now let's save and transfer the hub to the Corvette. I recommend saving first, so you don't risk having to start all over again, as the transfer operation could crash the game. To transfer, simply take the piece in question, point the cursor outside the Corvette, switch to it and cancel. To make sure we've transferred it, we can use a small object such as this light and point it at the newly transferred piece, moving it from one piece to another and checking. We can also switch to base construction mode and toggle to the wire, pointing where we want. Well, that's all for the transfer glitch. Now I'll show you how to do the force transfer glitch, which is perhaps the most interesting thing from a creative point of view, as we can use base parts on the Corvette. So in order to perform the force transfer glitch, we first need to give the game the ability to switch between the two construction modes, base computer and Corvette. Then, when we go to place a piece, the cursor must be either on the Corvette or on nothing. If it is on a piece of the base computer, we will not be able to switch. As you can see, the cursor is on the floor that is part of the computer base, so the game recognizes that there are no other construction modes, making it impossible to switch. However, by placing it on this side, the cursor also moves over the Corvette, allowing us to switch. So find the right position and place the piece. I recommend placing it normally the first time, both to see if you like the position so you can study the placement that suits you best and to make the force transfer glitch work better. I say this because I have found that if you perform the glitch on the first attempt without having placed a piece normally, it is more difficult to do the glitch. At this point, pick up the piece in question, stay in the base computer construction mode, and press the construction mode switch button and the construction button almost simultaneously. You need to give the switch button a slight priority, a matter of half a second. As you can see, the piece is now part of the Corvette. We can neither pick it up nor delete it. The force transfer glitch has been successful. Even if a piece has been transferred, we still have the option of attaching a new one so we can build as if we were building normally. We follow the same procedure of positioning it normally and perform the glitch as we did a moment ago. Obviously, we can place any piece we want that is part of the base computer, giving us complete freedom of construction. Now, as for the exocrafts, there is a bug that prevents us from taking full advantage of them. Let me explain. When we enter an exocraft positioned on the Corvette with a glitch, we can use it without any problems, but as soon as we exit that exocraft, the game spawns us far away from the Corvette. I highly recommend placing the start race, which still gives you the ability to use an exocraft without any problems, with the added advantage of being able to use any active exocraft you have, unlike only one if we were to place a specific exocraft on the Corvette. I'll show you later, but for now, let's place the Colossus. Some types of pieces have the cursor at the base, making them more complicated to position using this method. In this case, we can position them on the ground or using a method that I will show you shortly. For now, let's position it on the ground using the glitch. As I said, some pieces are difficult to position, so we will have to raise them. Obviously, this is your choice, but I recommend raising them if you don't like them being placed directly on the ground, as it may seem less integrated with the Corvette. Okay, first go to the base computer and find a fairly large area. Start digging, reach a reasonable depth, and flatten everything. Create an area large enough to comfortably hold the Corvette. An area like this is more than enough. Call the Corvette. Start creating the terrain until you reach the desired height. At this point, take the piece you want to place and choose where you want to position it at the height that suits you best. If you were to put all types of exocraft together, the game will always prioritize the exocraft you have active at that moment, even if you call a different one. For example, if you have the mecha active and you call the Colossus, the mecha will spawn. Therefore, for several reasons, it is useless to put the exocraft platforms. Now, let's position the start race, which will be much more convenient than the single exocraft we chose. Now I'll show you the various situations in-game. Let's start with the Colossus. If we don't move and remain in the exact position where the Colossus spawned, we can exit and it will leave us on the Corvette. But if we start moving, when we exit, the game sends us far away from the Corvette. I have no idea why this happens, but is certainly very inconvenient. For this reason, I recommend not using the single exocraft on the Corvette. With Start Race, we can use any exocraft we want, as long as it is active. In this case, I have the Colossus active. If I had the Pilgrim active, it would have made me use that one. It's very convenient because you just have to choose the exocraft you want at any time and have it delivered by Start Race. Getting off the exocraft in route creation mode will respawn us on the Corvette regardless of our position. This will allow you to use the exocraft normally and move around freely. Now I'll show you some gameplay I did after recording the videos you just saw. I discovered that the bug also occurs with the Start Race, but I'll explain how to avoid it. Call the exocraft from your Start Race. Exit to cancel the creation of the route, and return to the Corvette. To avoid the bug, you'll need to enter the exocraft beyond the radius of the Corvette. Let me explain. You'll need to position yourself outside the Corvette's limit, as I am now. This is the boundary, as you can see, and this way you won't trigger the bug. Now I'll show you several examples, so you can avoid them in your gameplay. Let's enter the exocraft from inside the Corvette. At first, everything seems normal. The horn works, and you can hear the sounds, but shortly after, the bug will activate, and you won't hear the sounds anymore. We'll exit, and the game will send us far away. Now let's enter it while physically standing on the Corvette. You will notice that even from this position, it is more difficult to find a way to enter it, but even so, the bug is activated. You will notice this immediately due to the absence of sounds. If, on the other hand, we position ourselves outside the Corvette's boundary, as I mentioned before, the bug will not be activated, and you will be able to reuse the exocraft normally. or we can enter it from the ground. Let me know if this happens to you too, or if you have encountered this bug in different ways. Well, see you at the space station for the latest information. When building in the space station, you must, and I emphasize must, be extremely careful when building, making absolutely sure which piece you need to move or remove. If you accidentally take a piece that you have transferred, you will no longer be able to position it, as it is not actually part of the Corvette, so you will have to reposition it as we did at the beginning. This is because we do not have the option to switch construction modes. If you see red pieces, it's because they aren't attached to the structure. Simply use a piece of the Corvette to reattach them. Let's now focus on transferring parts of the freighter. Let's build a Corvette by placing the pieces at the ends to understand how far we can go in building the parts of the freighter. Call your freighter. Let's position ourselves in this area. Obviously, every freighter is different, but broadly speaking, the area should be this one, central, and at the top. Let's try to find the right combination of inclination and central position. We'll evaluate the height later, once we've positioned the first piece of the freighter, so we know how to reposition ourselves. Once we've found the correct position, we can exit the ship, wait for it to stabilize, and reach the freighter's hubs. As you can see, it is positioned perfectly in the center of the ship. As I said, we will have to adjust the height after placing the first hub. The positioning varies from freighter to freighter as they have different reference points, so it is up to you to adjust accordingly. As is normal, we cannot build in the central area of the Corvette, so the hubs must be built in positions in front of or behind the center, but we can make them communicate with the Corvette's hubs by placing various entrances. As for doors, windows, walls, and stairs, they must be transferred first before the hubs, or it will no longer be possible to do so. As with the base pieces, in order to transfer them, place the cursor either on the Corvette or on nothing. If you see that the piece has disappeared, it means that the transfer was successful. This happens with pieces like this one, which are connections between hubs. Sometimes it can be difficult to find the right spot for the cursor, so move around in different areas to find it. As soon as you transfer the hubs, the doors and windows will reappear, as they are now all part of the same construction mode. From here, we cannot drive the Corvette, so we need to find a teleport. You can directly build a teleport hub on the Corvette and use it, create an entrance for the freighter, or enter it if you already have one. Also, be very careful not to take the freighter pieces, as it will be impossible to reposition them once you are in the space station. However, we will still be able to reposition them by returning to the freighter. As I said at the beginning, having built to the limit of the Corvette helps us understand how far we can build the freighter pieces so that we can integrate them and build around them. Now, let's see how to make them communicate with each other using the Corvette hubs. As for the height we mentioned earlier, we will have to find it by finding the right position at the beginning, so do several tests until you find it. The base of the Corvette hub must be attached to the floor of the freighter hub. As you can see, we cannot go through the door. By placing two entrances of the Corvette in opposite positions to each other, we will be able to communicate with the freighter's hubs and move freely between the Corvette and the freighter. Once you have found the perfect position that suits you and transferred the first hubs of the freighter, you can return to the freighter and position yourself in the same area to finalize the construction. You can position yourself however you like. There is no need to realign perfectly. The hubs will attach to the existing ones without any problems. I am deliberately positioning myself crookedly to give you a demonstration. Now I'll show you what I've created to give you an idea of what you can really do by taking full advantage of these glitches. Well, that's all you need to know about transferring various construction parts to the Corvette. I hope they are useful for your future constructions. Greetings from Artifacts, and see you in the next video.